was Labaron Philon out of nowhere, 30 minutes
Yeah.
before the deadline passed, having an announcement come out from, I believe it was, Alabama, their NIL collective. I saw the tweet and I thought that it was one of those, like, you know how some of these burners will just create like these fake accounts and try to put out fake news to get out there. Like, I saw it and I was like, yeah, that's fake. I'm not following for that. He already said he's staying in the draft. This dude might be a first round pick. What's going on? Then I see Preston Murphy tweeting something about it. I'm like, wait a second. Do I need to pay attention? Then Nate Oates tweeted something about it. I was like, wait, is this dude actually coming back? What do you make of Alabama getting Labaron Philon back from the NBA?
I mean, huge. Like you said, a shocker, even above Yaxel going back to Michigan, which I thought was surprising because I think it was tilted in a way that he was going to stay in the NBA draft for a while. And then obviously, these guys are realizing, hey, if we're not locked first rounders, which Yaxel wasn't and LeBaron certainly wasn't, there's more money on the table to go back. And for LeBaron, I think a big part of it too was not only go back for the money now, Rob, go back for the opportunity to put yourself where you are potentially a lottery pick next year. Because right now, I think he was outside the first round. I think he was somewhere in that 25 to 45 range from what NBA execs have told me. And I think he's the type of guy that could really improve his draft stock enough to be a lock first rounder, maybe even a late lottery pick. Yaxel, I think, is just trying to get his way where he's a guaranteed first round pick, which is tough to do. But you want to get in that 10 to 20 range to make sure that even if you fall, you're getting a guaranteed deal. And more than that, even you're getting it to whereas the general manager, the execs are going to make sure they're going to do everything they can to make sure that you're successful, because there's a difference when you draft a guy in the first round and the second round.
Yeah, I think that the Yaxel situation is a little bit different because the number that he was getting from Michigan was so big that it made it not worth the risk of not being like, I don't know if there's a guy that was more of a consensus that was on the fence, that was more of a consensus to be a first round pick than Yaxel was. But the fact that he couldn't get a guarantee from any team, and it was like, I'm not going to leave all this on the table and risk having to sign.
These are mock drafts too, Rob, you got to understand.
No, I get it. But I'm saying, like,
a bunch of people doing mock drafts that have no effing idea what they're talking about. Okay, they're guessing.
But there are some that do. There are some that do, and there are some that that the information is valuable. And I think that even if you did a poll of front office types in the NBA, most of them would have said Yaxel Lindenberg would have ended up being a first round pick. I don't think they would have said the same about Labaron Philon. And the difference to me is it's not just the money situation, right? Like, Yaxel's a guy where no matter when he goes, he's kind of a known quantity at this point because of his age, because of the skill set that he has, and because of the fact that, like, the ceiling is somewhat limited. Like, he's a guy that's going to go to the NBA and be a good role player for a while because of the skill set that he has and the size that he has. Whereas Labaron Philon is one of these guys where if it clicks for him, he's got like lottery potential next season if it all goes well. And I do believe it'll go well for him at Alabama. I'll get into that in a second. Where he was also someone this year that could have ended up being like the 45th pick. And if you're the 45th pick, you're probably getting a year guaranteed and another year partially guaranteed, right? Which is a lot of money to give up when all that guaranteed money is probably what you can get from Alabama this year. And you're betting on yourself to be able to put yourself in a position where you can get one of these like 4-year guaranteed contracts worth $40 million. I don't think that's the craziest thing to say. So I think it was a good move for Labaron to come back to school. And I think it's massive for Alabama. Huge. One of the kind of underrated storylines was I thought that Alabama had like a quietly disappointing offseason, right? You're losing Mark Sears, you're losing a couple of veteran pieces, and they didn't exactly kill it in the portal. Taylor Bowen's a good pickup, but he's a role player. Jaleel Bethea is a talented kid, but I mean, there's a lot of question marks there about whether or not he can impact a game at this level. You bring in Noah Williamson, you get Houston Millett back, and you got a couple freshmen coming in, but there wasn't a lot on this roster that really kind of made you say, oh, wow, like you got to look out for this team. And that wouldn't have been a problem, but Alabama and Nate Oates has set the expectation that like competing for national championships in hoops is what they do now, right? And if you're kind of like a top 20-ish, top 25-ish kind of a team in Alabama, That's one where it's like, well, what's happening here? Getting Philon back changes some things because I think he is a guy that has like legitimate all SEC potential. He's a rim pressure guy. He can get to the basket. He can draw fouls. He can spray the ball out. And you got a bunch of shooters around him now. To me, he really changes things for Alabama in terms of what their ceiling can be if this all clicks and if it all hits.
Sure, because he gives them a point guard. He gives them a point guard. That's the biggest thing is they've got enough other guards that can score it. They need.
Do point guards matter, Jeff?
Point guard matters. I think I've been saying that for a while. Point guard does matter. You know what else matters? Aiden Sherrill. Aiden Sherrill and his development from last year to this year. Remember, he got spot minutes last year. You know, that's the biggest thing. Big Cliff and Grant Nelson. You know, Sherrill played, but he never really got a chance to play through his mistakes. This year, I think he's going to get that opportunity. And, you know, he is a super talented big. And if the light can go on and stay on for Aiden Sherrill, now, like you said, you've got so much depth on the perimeter. You know, Philon, Aiden Holloway, Reitzel, Bethea, who's super talented, as we've said, but we don't quite trust him yet. Houston Millette. That's – you know, that's 5 really, really good perimeter players that can all play this year. So I think the keys are going to be Aiden Sherrill and Taylor Bowen, who, you know, I saw plenty at Brewster Academy and had a decent year last year at Florida State. But, you know, one of those guys has got to really emerge, you know, and if both do, then they're really.
Yeah, he's a good piece. And what I'll say, and then we can kind of move on from this, with Alabama is like now you got a whole bunch of shooters around a guy that can actually go get that paint touch, right? Like that's the biggest thing with the way that Nate Oates runs his offense is you need someone to actually get in the lane, force defenses to move, and then you can kind of spray it around. It's threes and layups. So now you got that guy that can go get you the paint touch, that can get into the lane. Aiden Holloway shoots 40% from 3. Latrell Reitzel shoots 40% from 3. Bowen shoots 40% from 3. Houston Millette was a 40% three-point shooter. Now you got guys that can get there or that can shoot once finally gets there and collapses the defense.